to Pastor Deb for our opening liturgy.
If you would turn in, I saw that Richard was headed to the back of the mic, so Wyon is holding the piano mic and the congregation mic. Would you talk into that one?
Testing, testing.
Yep, so the congregation mic can be turned up a little bit also. Thank you, Richard. If you would turn to the back of your annual report, you will see that there is a liturgy that actually has been sent out by Churchwide. So the cover and the back of your annual report, it comes from Churchwide. And so all of the congregations of the ELCA are encouraged to use this. So I will be the leader, and if you would respond with the C part, congregation part. Gathering together as God's people in this place, may we always be aware of your presence in our midst.
Lord, may we always be aware of your presence.
Knowing that the Word is our light, may we continue to grow in our scriptural and confessional understandings.
Lord, may our minds continue to grow in your word.
Recognizing that stepping out in faith is not easy, we ask that you give us strength, O Lord, to listen and be bold and daring.
Lord, give us the patience to listen and the strength to be bold and daring.
While we strive to know ourselves and your will for us, may we build our relationships with our brothers and sisters in Christ.
Lord, help us to build faith-filled and healthy relationships with others.
Recognizing that we are too often the ones asking, and who is my neighbor? May we open our eyes and ears and hearts to all those in the community in which we live.
Lord, may we always be open to those in the community in which we live.
Recognizing the importance of Moses, the prophets, and disciples, may we work together to accompany and raise up leaders for your church.
Lord, may we have the insight, encouragement, and skills to raise up courageous leaders.
Recognizing the many gifts you have entrusted to us, may we use these gifts to do your work in the world today.
Lord, may we use the gifts entrusted to us to do your work.
Let us pray. As we strive to be your church of the present and the future, may we nurture a spirit of collaboration and solidarity. May we be partners in sharing the gospel and believing in Jesus Christ, crucified and risen for the life of the world. Amen.
Before we begin, we have a couple of housekeeping notes. If you are making or seconding a motion, would you please raise your hand and say your name so that it can be recorded properly in the minutes of this meeting. If you have something to say or are giving signals from the back about how to hold a microphone, please stand and wait for one of the microphone runners to bring you a mic so that everyone can hear your comment and question. And thank you in advance to Tammy and Cleon. If you've always wondered about the life of the spouse of a council member, now you can see that they get voluntold also. One last note is that during the assembly of the annual report, there may have been a bit of laughter. And so if you have one of the annual reports that's missing a page or a page that's upside down, congratulations, you're a winner. We don't know of what.
Wait,
but
I have fruit snacks.
Oh, you are a winner of fruit snacks. Thank you. I would like to introduce you to the council members in case some of us are not familiar to you. I'm Wyon Leonard. My term expires today. This is Gloria Olowski, who has served as council secretary this year. Her term is also expiring. With one more year of council to go, we have Rodney Clark, who has served as vice president for this year. And Mike Batchnagel, who is not here today due to some illness, has family concerns. And Mike is our church treasurer as well as a member of the council. Terms expiring at the end of 2021, Carmen Lackner, who's also not with us today because of sick, Adair Deers, and Bill Dennert. And also Gary Hunsaker has served as alternate this year. And the alternate is an important position because if any council member had stepped down or been unable to fulfill their term, he would have taken over that seat. The council has also requested that this year Pastor Deb sit up front with us and serve as parliamentarian for this meeting. So, Ms. Parliamentarian, would you please read for us what constitutes a member?
According to our Constitution, the Church Council shall determine the roster of voting members of the congregation. The term "in good standing" shall be defined as those who partake in Holy Communion, those who participate in the life of the congregation. Members may be a baptized member, a confirmed member, a participating member, or one other thing that I can't remember, and now I can't find the page. I hate when that happens. I'm sorry, I really did mark it. A baptized, a confirmed, a participating, or a voting member. So we consider voting members those who are members of the congregation in good standing. Clear as mud. And yes, I have a list.
Thank you. And there is as the Constitution notes, a list of those rostered members has to be available, and the parliamentarian, Pastor Deb, does have that available. So, Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Declaration of quorum of membership and council. Okay, let's see here. You will, according to the parliamentary report, the number of confirmed voting age members is 186, which requires 19 members present. Have counted more than 20. That quorum is present. Approval of the 2018 annual meeting minutes. You will find the minutes of the last year's annual meeting on page 3. There is a correction needed on line 9 of the printed minutes. The year 2019 on that line should be 2018, so that it reads, the minutes from the 2018 annual meeting were presented and approved as printed. Are there any other additions or corrections?
I move to approve with the correction.
And your name, sir?
Joseph.
And we have a second by? Marv Negebauer. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as corrected. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion carried and the minutes approved as corrected. We move on to the agenda, which we'll find on the opposite side of that page. Are there any additional items or questions about the agenda?
Madam President, I would like to move under new business to receive volunteers for the Constitution Review Team, to move that after election of council members. And the reason I ask that we move that is to give our people time to count our ballots so that newly elected members can be declared before we do election of Senate Assembly voting members. It has been strongly encouraged by our Synod Council that members of our church council attend as voting members of the Synod Assembly if possible. So I would like our newly elected members the opportunity to run to be elected as Synod Assembly voting members if they desire. So by moving that one item, it will give us time to get those votes counted.
Any objections or further comments for the agenda? I would entertain a motion then to approve the agenda with the changes introduced by Pastor Deb.
Joseph moves again.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I second Joy.
Seconded by Joy Negebauer. All in favor? Opposed? Please say nay. Okay, thank you. We move into the presentation of reports, and my report is on page 14. I just want to say thank you to everyone that's served. Also to note that I didn't mean, what did I forget? Please?
Mine is first.
Oh, Pastor Deb is first.
Rodney.
On page
Rodney
2,
wins
he
fruit
wins.
snacks.
He wins the first fruit snacks. It's on the page 2. You don't have page
on the back.
1 and 2?
I verified it.
You verified he didn't have 1 or 2? Look at that. Our first winner of the first fruit snacks. There you go.
Yummy.
Honestly, I am not sure how much wine was in that room as this was being assembled, but I sure heard a lot of laughter. Almost wedding pants laughter. So the fact that you have an annual report at all is pretty good. So Pastor Deb's report is on page 14, is that correct? Is on page 14, and I am not going to read it to you, but again, I am going to thank you, not only for continuing to follow where I might lead, but also being able to be in conversation with me when you disagree, or teaching me as we go. Another thing that has been asked that I do during this presentation is to explain a little bit about the structure of our congregation. And I am always one to take a teaching moment when a teaching moment is possible. Just ask my children. They will tell you, because I might have heard more than once in my life, "Mother!" It's either put away the pastor voice, the counselor voice, or the teacher voice. We don't need another teaching moment. Take your pick. So, we are a congregation that is under God. First and foremost, God is the head of our congregation. We are a congregation that is a part of the ELCA, Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, which gives us many privileges as well as some guidance. And sometimes we disagree, and that's okay. We get to do that. Our congregation is served by, so we have congregational polity in our ELCA denomination as a Lutheran, which means the majority of the power is held by the congregation. And we get to make decisions for our congregation based on what is best in our context. So if you had a flow chart, it would be God, then it would be congregation, and under that it would be pastor, council, and the ELCA. Because those are the three groups from which we are governed, so to speak. The council is elected by the congregation calls the pastor, and the congregation is a part of the ELCA. So again, it comes from all of you. Now, for those who are wondering, a pastor holds the call. Once you have called and I have accepted that call, I hold that call until God has told me it is time to move, or my husband tells me it is time to move. The church council strongly hints that it is time for me to move. The bishop can tell me it is time for me to move, but that's usually only for two reasons. One, there's another congregation that strongly needs the gifts and skills that your pastor has, and so the bishop will ask if you would be willing to go and serve that congregation. I can choose to say yes or no to that. Or if there is something that I have done or that something that has caused great conflict in the congregation, the bishop can come in and ask me to leave for whatever purpose under the sun, or you as a congregation can take steps to ask for my resignation. But other than that, I hold the call. Your council, of course, is elected by you, and then our guidelines come from the ELCA, because together with all of the churches in the ELCA, we can do much more of God's mission than we ever could alone. I can't imagine not being a part of a denomination. And then from there, the Constitution states that the council can create committees based on the needs of the congregation. So this council in the history of this church has created committees which are made up of members appointed or volunteered, appointed by the council. And they're supposed to be for one-year terms. And so each year, those who are serving on committees are brought forth before the council, and the council formally approves them as committee members. So really, you only need to serve for 1 year. You don't have to have a lifetime serving appointment if you are on a committee. And that's going to come into play here in just a second. And then finally from there, teams can be formed in the church. And a team is usually a short-term thing or a long-term thing based on the needs of this particular congregation. So you will see in our reports, not only reports from the committees, but reports from various teams, including some new ones that are happening this year. So we have six committees that you will hear from. We have several teams that you will hear from. And we are starting fresh, because I think some committee members feel like they've been on for a lifetime appointment. So we are giving you the opportunity today to say, you know what, I've served as long as I want to on that committee. I'm going to choose to step down and maybe do something else, maybe not, maybe take a year off. So one example, I'm going to point to Donna, who has been an incredible gift to the worship committee for many years. And a couple months ago, she said, you know what, I'm ready to step down from that committee because of various things. And so we thank her tremendously for her work. But she's not going to be on the worship committee anymore for a while. She gets a break. She'll still be here, she'll still be active, but she won't be serving on that committee. And the committees basically do the organizing and the decision-making that then goes to the council, et cetera, and then they find the people to do the work, whether it's themselves or others who like to do the work. And then there are the teams, such as the Prayer Shawl Ministry, and some of the other teams that you will hear about, that you can volunteer to be a part of, that are some of those, again, worker bees. So we have Shell and Jennifer Negebauer that started the college outreach team this year. And they have been doing a fabulous job of communicating with our college kids through a newsletter and postcards, and you helped put together finals boxes that the kids rejoiced in receiving, praying for our college kids. So that's a team. That's a team that was needed, but not something constitutionally appointed. So, like I said, we're starting fresh. I'm not going to assume anybody is on any committee as of today. Instead, this is my asking you. And for those who are not here, they will also get this invitation. Would you like to serve on a committee or a team? So what I have done is, on the table back there and on the table downstairs are half sheets of paper that have the name of every committee and every team that I could possibly think of. I would like you to stop by and prayerfully consider serving. This is a way that we can encourage active participation in our congregation based on your passions and gifts and skills. Even if you're like, don't want to drive for meetings or anything like that, the prayer chain is starting over. That's a simple calling tree. Anybody can do that. Put your name down and a phone number on where you think you would like to serve. And then we will contact you and invite you to be a part of that. And at our February meeting, the council will again be officially appointing the committees and approving the teams. So please take time today or this week to stop by and to fill where you might like to serve if you are being called to serve on a committee or a team. Does that make sense? Okay? And please, I know parking lot conversation happens. I know dinner conversation, roast the pastor happens. I know all of those things happen, but I try my hardest to be open to hear you. Yes, I am in and out and running all over. I'm trying to change that this year. If you would like to visit with me about anything, even if you disagree with me, I'm okay with that. I still want to hear you. So please give me a call. Stop me in my tracks and say, Pastor Deb, I just need to visit with you a little bit. Or would you please stop by? Or can I come to your office? Or can we meet for coffee? And I absolutely will take the time to do that. It's better for me and the way I work if I schedule a time than if you just say, stop in whenever. Because something always seems to come up on the whenever side of life. So please don't hesitate to call, and I will be happy to visit with you at any time, as would any of our council members. They just don't know that yet. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions from my report or for me at this time? Yes, Roger.
I have oh, no, I don't need that.
Yes, you do, because I'm also taping this.
Well, I was on outreach and nurturing committee a few years ago, and I got scared. They printed something and they made a misprint.
Okay, did I make a misprint?
No, you didn't. Somebody else did. It said the neutering committee, and so I got off immediately.
I don't blame you.
So I'm glad that we have changed this title on here.
Good.
Yeah, and well, it's a true story. I'm not.
I am really glad that we have changed that as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go about. I think circumcision in the church is long gone. I don't want that to be a part of my job description.
And my second comment, I just wanted to thank you for all the work you do. I mean, you do a lot of stuff that nobody even knows about, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. My report is on page 5. I inadvertently left Gary's name out as I was listing my thankfulness for the council members. And it's not because I'm not thankful to Gary or that I didn't learn from him. I just, it's a memory thing. Any questions for me?
Okay, so I'm the council liaison for the Education Committee, and you can see that report on page 6. Do we have any members other than Gloria, Pastor Deb, and Josie? Please stand and identify yourselves as members of this fun committee. And we're missing Becky Lowe, and we're also missing Suzanne, okay? So if there's any additions, corrections, the report is on page 6.
And Carmen was the liaison for the mission committee. Could I have the other committee members stand, please, for the mission? Thank you so much. Their report is on page 7. Are there any questions for the mission committee?
The Outreach Committee is on page 8. If the Outreach Committee members would stand, I'd appreciate it. If there's any questions. Thank you for everybody's help.
I'm the liaison for the property committee. Would the members of the property committee please stand up? Is there any questions that you have for the property committee or myself? The report's on page 9.
I just have one comment. Thank you to everyone who came and worked on the basement bathroom at the parsonage. My son, my daughter, and another person have now stayed at my house and used that, and my son says it's the best shower he's ever showered in.
Thank you, Butch.
Butch and Bill and Tammy and Gary and Rodney, thank you so much.
Okay, no further questions? Thank you.
I was serving this year as liaison for the worship committee, and I would ask any of those committee members that are here to please stand. This committee very much listens to what the congregation says. And so if you are drawn to that committee for this year, I'd encourage you to sign up for that. It's been a lot of fun. Our report is on page 10. Thank you. You may be seated. Are there any questions for the worship committee?
I'm the liaison for the Youth Committee report, which is on page 11. So, would you please stand, anybody from the Youth Committee? So if anybody else would like to join the Youth Committee at any point, please do.
We need you.
Yeah, please do. Okay. Thank you.
One comment. I had the opportunity to speak with Pastor Laura and Tim that are here, and had the opportunity to share your Wednesday night youth activities. And I will tell you that out of 6 that were at the table, 5 of their mouths literally dropped and said they just could not believe what you guys are doing here and the positivity. So don't be surprised if they call and ask you what you're doing right, because they want to learn from you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. Yeah, Joseph said that.
Rich.
Okay. So the prayer shawl ministry report is on page 13. Donna is here, and she is our point person for the prayer shawl ministry team. And there is a sign-up sheet for the prayer shawl ministry team out back. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, they have pattern instructions and the whole 9 yards. And let me tell you, the people who receive prayer shawls during the year are incredibly grateful for them. I still have the one that was presented to my grandma as she was dying, and that is just a really special treasure for me to be able to have that. So thank you. If you have questions, ask Donna, because I know nothing other than giving them out.
Anybody can do this. Oops, sorry. Anybody can do this. If you need help, call me. We have a few left, and when we get to the bottom of the bin, then we have to get busy again. It takes a while, but it's not perfection, and people are very grateful. So thanks for any help.
I want to thank you. I still use mine.
That's something that I wanted to add also, is I have one from almost 13 years ago that I still use.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Yes.
Betty Dickoff.
That was Roger. Roger, I wouldn't share my prayer shawl either, sorry.
In with the ELCA WELCA report, go ahead.
Okay, so you can find the WELCA report on page 12. Linda is our treasurer for the group, and Linda's not here, but we did talk about an error to God's, let's see, we gave 175 to the ELCA Good Gifts Family Farm, but down below it says it was 715, so that is an error. It was actually 175.
It was actually 715.
Oh, forgive me, I have that backwards. Okay, so it was 715 to the Good Gifts Family Farm. Okay,
Yes.
that was the correction. Any questions? Thank you.
I just have one comment. Linda Morrison and Paula Warren are serving this year on our Bear Butte Conference WELCA team. And Margie, are you still serving synodically on the WELCA board? And I know that myself and Gwen and Paula are looking forward to attending the Triennial in Phoenix, Arizona. And if anybody else wants to attend, please visit with me. Margie, are you planning? And Margie's planning on attending also. So we're looking forward to our Triennial gathering in Phoenix.
Is there a motion to approve the reports?
So moved with corrections noted.
So moved by Richard Stinson with corrections noted. Is there a second? Gwen. Thank you. All in favor of the approval of the reports with corrections noted, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. I believe the motion still carries. Thank you. Is there any old business to be considered at this time? Okay, please turn the page of your annual report to the section following the page that's all pictures. And Pastor Deb and the rest of the council will attempt to answer any questions that Mike would have entertained today. At this point, we're looking only at the 2019 columns. This is just the report of 2019, nothing on the new.
So as you will see from the balance sheet, as well as the actual 2019 income and expenses, we ended the year on a positive note. With all of the ministry that we wanted to complete, we were able to complete our entire mission for the year, and we had the financial resources to do it. Ending our year with a net ordinary income of $5,879.99. The 2019 books were reviewed and audited, and I thank the auditing committee for doing that, Tammy, Paul, and Dixie. The one recommendation that the auditing committee had was to check into the imaging of the checks that we write with our bank, Black Hills Federal Credit Union. Mike did have an opportunity to do that, and checks are kept, images are kept on the computer in our information for 4 months plus the current month. And so what we can do is ask Mike, if the council deems, to print off our check images each month so that we can make sure that the report and the checks that are actually written are compatible, in congruence, whatever word it is that I want to use. Reconciled, thank you. I knew somebody would have the word for me. So as you look at the balance sheet, at the columns of 2019 financial mission plan and 2019 actual expenses, do you have any questions? I know that Mike was present last week, and there were a few people at the meeting reviewing financial stuff, and so between all of us, we should be able to answer them. So questions? I thought Mickey maybe had a question. Nope, okay. Does anybody have any questions about the 2019
comment then?
Treasurer's report?
Instead of printing them, can we look into just saving them, save on paper, but just a comment?
Oh, yes, we will take that under advisement as well. Downloading and saving the check images. That's a good idea. We're just trying to make them accessible to the audit committee and to anyone else who might want to look at them.
Hearing no other questions, I would entertain a motion to accept the 2019 Treasurer's Report.
Joseph so moves.
Would somebody else jump in so you can get your name in the annual report?
Is there a second? Danny? Thank you. All in favor?
Danny?
Point of order.
Yes.
Please.
I think you need to make that more clear. By the whole treasurer's report, sorry, Margie, by the whole treasurer's report, I think you also mean pages, no pages. The financial mission plan?
No, only the treasurer's report at this point in time, which is the 2019, the columns that say the balance sheet, and then the pages following that say 2019 actual expenses.
So yes, it does, one corner of it does say, Margie, financial mission plan. We're talking about the two center columns.
Yeah, so
Then for the next several pages.
Make that more clear.
Okay. The clarification then, if you didn't understand that, Margie's point is that we are including in the treasurer's report the balance sheet, and then the 3 pages look like an Excel worksheet, the middle 2 columns. And there is a motion with a second on the floor to accept the 2019, thank you, what year is it? Report. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you again for your generosity. We have 2 council members leaving their terms this year, as you heard earlier, and I thought it would be a little awkward for Wyone to thank herself. So on behalf of the church council and the entire congregation, I would like to thank Gloria and Wyone for serving so faithfully on our church council for the last 3 years and for all of the work that they do. And as a small token of our thanks, I would like to offer you Merci, a finest assortment of European chocolates. So thank you very much for your work on the church council and beyond. Can we thank them with a round of applause? If you need any help eating those chocolates, I am sure there will be multiple people that would volunteer.
Oh, there were volunteers already to help eat chocolates. We come to the election of council members. We'll be electing 2 council members to serve 3-year terms. We also need an alternate. So traditionally in this congregation, the top 2 amounts of votes serve as council members, and the 3rd number of votes will serve as council alternate. Lost the word. Thank you. Accepting nominations at this point would be Gary Hunsaker, Jason Virtue, Dar, and Shell. Would you please stand up and come forward to introduce yourselves? Want to say something?
Turn and face the congregation. Keep it short.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Shel Shefsick, and we are recently and newly empty nesters, and so I just decided that I would see if there was another way that I can serve. I serve on the College Outreach Committee, so thank you for your consideration.
I'm Doris Rader. I was asked to serve, and I don't know whether I should have or not, but my wife Gwen and I are retired, and we live just outside of Hot Springs, and I'm a retired educator. I vision the church to be an open, accepting congregation, and I guess I would use that as my guiding principles as far as serving on the council.
Hello, Jason Virtue. Similar as Dar was asked to run for a council member. Been a member of the church since 2005, and other than that, I don't have much to add, but if elected, would be do my part to do my duty on the council and keep you folks, your best interest in mind. Thanks.
Are there any nominations from the floor?
I move nomination cease.
Motion by Roger Dickoff that nominations cease, and a second by Betty Dickoff. The motion is for nominations to cease. The ballots are being handed out. All in favor of nominations ceasing, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Please vote for 2. And then pass your ballots to the center aisle.
Vote for 2.
Vote for 2 people.
2 people.
You have 2 votes.
We are electing the 2 council members, and then the third person will receive the alternate.
We have 4 names to choose from, but you are voting for 2 people.
No. You can vote.
Then please pass your ballots to the aisle, and Gloria and Adair have been appointed to count ballots. Adair? No, we're going to keep going. Get him from... You could write her in. Do we have all the ballots?
No, I got the rest of them.
Would you take them into them?
Hey, don't beat up the congregation.
10,000 comedians out of work, they're all a part of this congregation, I'm pretty sure. A motion, may I have a motion to beat up congregation members as needed? Are they counting already? Okay.
Pastor Deb, receiving volunteers for The mic is on.
Now it is.
Okay. Receiving volunteers for the Constitutional Review Team.
So we stated last year that it is time for our Constitution to be looked at and updated. The copy I have was amended in 2008. So in August at the church-wide council, church-wide assembly, the church-wide Constitution was updated. And so when we heard that, we were advised to wait until after that was done so that the model constitutions could come out. So that has happened. I have a whole bunch of information about updating a church council or a church constitution, and I am looking for some volunteers to serve for this year in looking through our Constitution, what needs to be updated, doing the updating, sending it to the Senate to be approved, and bringing it back to the congregation at next year's annual meeting for approval. So this will be a short-term thing depending on how fast we get it done. So I just need 2 or 3 volunteers to be on this team with me. Madam President, would you like to volunteer?
I would.
Yay! Okay, any other volunteers? So Wyon Leonard has volunteered to be on the Constitution Committee. Paul Reynolds has volunteered to be on the Constitution Committee. And Danny Borden has volunteered to be on the Constitution Committee. Well, at least Jaden volunteered her, but she didn't scream out loud, so I'm assuming that was a yes, she would do that. Fantastic. Are there any others that really desire to be on the Constitution Committee? Wonderful. Thank you. I will be in contact with you about a first meeting date. Well, that didn't take very long.
So we're moving on then to...
How about if I do the...
new position?
Yeah, the new position.
Okay.
Okay. We are going to move forward as they're continuing to vote to the introduction of the new position, Special Music Coordinator. And if you turn on your back 2, 3, it's on the back of one of these pages, towards the back. Oh, right after the financial mission plan information is a Special Music Coordinator ministry description. So this came out of the worship committee because one of the things that I would like to concentrate on this year as we be still and know that I am God is having a meaningful worship service. And one of the things that I do not have the gifts and skills for is to find people like Richard who are willing to bring some special music to the congregation, to arrange for choirs to happen, to practice with those people, to accompany those people, etc., etc., etc. And so the music committee was talking, or the worship committee was talking about how we can engage more people in worship, and this is something that came out of that. So we would like to actually hire a special music coordinator, and we would like to hire Carla Orator, to be very honest with you, because we feel that she has the gifts and skills to do what she does best and thoroughly enjoys doing. So unless someone wants to, we're not really asking for approval of this position because you will see this position in the financial mission plan for 2020. The finances for this position are a newly added line item in the 2020 financial mission plan. So by approving the financial mission plan, you would approve this position. But we want you to be able to ask questions, to say, nope, we need to vote on the position, whatever would best work for you. So Richard has the mic.
Yeah, and I will just tell you that those of you that were paying attention have probably noticed that I haven't sang for like a year and a half or so, and it's for this very reason, because I think you need somebody like this, because those of us that do sing or are playing the organ or the piano, it's like all of a sudden it's like a part-time job on top of the job you have already, and it's like every time you turn around you're being, okay, yeah, I'll sing again. So, I mean, just so people know, I will tell you as a musician in the church, I'm in full support of this. And I think Carla's great, especially after today.
You now have received the seal of approval. Thank you. Any other discussion, questions? I'm willing to entertain anything you have to say.
I'm just wondering, how many, is it a certain number of hours a week?
It is, yes, thank you. And as it says on the position description, we are looking at approximately 2 hours a week at $20 an hour is how we planned the financial mission plan. We needed to start somewhere. There will be some weeks it will take Carla more than 2 hours. There will be some weeks it will take her less than 2 hours. And so in designing, in putting this together and then specifically visiting with Carla, we thought for the first year, this is what we would go with. And then she'll actually keep track of real time to know that a year from now, we might have to make adjustments on that. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay. Worship committee members, is there anything else you would like to add?
I am Shelley, and I was wondering if she puts more than 2 hours in a week, you will pay her for what she has put in?
At this point in time, no.
Actually, I think...
Actually, go ahead.
One of the thoughts is...
Wait.
So, as we thought through the description, we've kind of talked about that $2,000 is what we are allowed to spend for the year.
If our financial mission plan is approved.
Correct. So with the 2 hours in mind, at first, some weeks might be more, some weeks might be less. If you are starting to reach that before the end of the year, then there would either need to be approval or we would need to back off a little bit to allow for that Christmas season when we know special music is important.
So yes, Shelley's question was, would she be paid if there are more hours in a week? Yes, but the committee's anticipation then was that maybe the next week there wouldn't be any.
We do need to work within the $2,080 if our financial mission plan is passed. And so if it gets to a point where there's a lot more hours and that money is dwindling, as Connie said, we would either need to come back to the congregation and ask for an increase in that mission plan item, or we would have to discontinue that position for a period of time so that we stay within what we are asking the congregation, and then next year we would have to reassess that. Does that make sense? Great questions, thank you, and comments.
Any other questions or comments? As Pastor Deb said, this is not an action item on its own. So we will visit it, and the action will be as we go through the financial mission plan. Oh, Roger?
Do you pay the piano players and stuff now?
We do not pay the piano player. We have not paid our musicians for quite some time in the history of this congregation. We have been blessed to have a number of musicians who have counted that as their giving of the church. As we move forward, the 2020 mission plan has a line item for our musicians. We have reached a point now where our musician numbers have dwindled. And so we felt, the worship committee and then the council felt it was only fair that we now pay our musicians. So that is a separate line item. So for Carla, it would be two separate jobs. Each musician would receive, we are saying $60 a Sunday for playing. If Peg and Connie play at the same Sunday, because they're awesome when they do that, they would each receive $30. And so the weeks that Carla plays, she would receive her money for the Sunday of playing, but then the coordinator position would be separate from that. Does that make sense? So that is also part of our 2020 financial mission plan, if passed, includes a line item to pay our musicians now, because they are giving much more of their time than they have in the past. And in all honesty, if these musicians would suddenly not be able to play and we had to look outside of our congregation, we would need to pay them. Or we would need Richard's phone, one or the other. Yes, Margie. Yep, Mike is coming.
I want to support that proposal as the mother of a musician who played full-time in high school. They put in a lot more than 1 hour here on Sunday morning or Wednesday night or wherever service is. So that is their talent and their skill, and they should be rewarded for that.
And as the daughter of a church organist, I agree. I agree. So that's, again, part of the 2020 mission plan. So at this time, I would ask any further actions or questions about that to wait for just a little bit.
Thank you. I have the pleasure of announcing election results to you. So first, Shell will serve as the alternate, and that is a very important position. It means that if any council member is unable to fulfill the rest of their term for any reason, she would step in. At the council meeting, she has full voice, but not vote, and is always invited to participate. And then serving on council for you for the next 3 years will be Jason and Dar. Thank you so much for prayerfully considering this and for agreeing to serve. Marvin?
I'd like to make a remark about...
Wait. Vote.
I'd like to make a remark about the one that is our first alternate. If Dar couldn't make it, because we're scattered out over a lot of long area, and he knows he can't make it, and Shell could make it, I don't see any reason why she can't vote at that meeting. But she can be at any meeting she wants to be. That's my way of feeling, because I had to put up with that one time.
And you can feel that way, Marv? The Constitution doesn't allow it.
But our church could.
Nope, our
Only
church
if there's a
cannot.
change in the
We'd have to change the Constitution. So
okay, well,
that can be addressed by the Constitution Committee.
Okay, but the only thing we did when I was chair, we had one said, no, she can't vote. So we didn't count votes. We just said majority rules. So that took care of that. Thank you.
The alternate can always have voice.
Yes, alternate can always have voice. And for the record, I don't vote either. I am only a voice. I happen to be an extra loud voice, but I'm only a voice.
But some of us can be even louder.
I don't know who that would be.
Election of Synod voting members. So Pastor Deb mentioned earlier that the Synod has strongly encouraged that at least one, if not two, of the members attending the Synod convention, which is the first weekend in June this year, I think June 4th, 5th, 6th.
Sure. In Sioux Falls.
In Sioux Falls. That they have encouraged that to be a council member, but we are open to, and we do have ballots if there are other people that would like to volunteer to serve as a representative of the church.
Currently, I have blank ballots. So, is there anybody, we can elect 2 voting members from our congregation, regular voting members. We can also have a youth who is confirmed under the age of 18 or younger be a voting member. We can also have someone for whom English is not their first language be a voting member. And I am automatically a voting member. We should never let Bill and Rodney sit together at anything. We always forget that Adair needs to sit between them.
That should be a given.
Yeah. So, do we have anyone who would like to represent our congregation as voting members at the Synod Assembly in June?
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to allow the council to appoint and approve at a later date. Lois Rudd, is there a second? Marvin Negebauer?
And I also have a question. Isn't the next meeting in Rapid City?
No.
It's always in Sioux Falls?
Yes.
They get everything, okay.
No, it's not always in Sioux Falls.
Convention Center gets billed.
But this year, in 2020, it is in Sioux Falls.
It was in Rapid City a few years ago, like 4 years ago, 4 years ago or so, that same year that I moved to West River. It was in Rapid City, and it may be in Rapid City again in the future.
That's why.
Yep. Yep. It may be in Aberdeen at one point in time. The problem that occurs is moving everything that needs to be moved for the Synod Assembly is very costly. And so they're trying to be good stewards. At least that's what we're told.
Even with all the software.
We're going with that. We're just going with that, Marv. But thank you for asking.
Thank you. We do have a motion on the floor, but at the same time, I also have a volunteer. Rodney Clark attended last year because Gloria was unable to at the last minute. So he has volunteered, but the motion on the floor is for the council to appoint and approve at a later date.
And Marvin seconded, so we need to vote. Yep,
So
point of orders, we need to vote.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, say nay. I believe the motion carries. And that brings us to the financial mission plan. Last week, during our assembly, our group or whatever.
One second, okay?
Oh, okay.
Just so to refer you now again back to our financial mission plan. So we have a mission of this congregation, and our mission needs finances, right? So if you look at the very last column, it says 2020 proposed financial mission plan. Those are the numbers we are looking at right now.
I wanted to make a point. Last week when we were meeting, someone at the table that was attending the session asked a question that I thought was really, really great of Mike. And since he's not here to answer it, I'm going to repeat it to you, and that was, where do these numbers come from? And he began by explaining that for the pastor, there are synodical guidelines that tell us a person serving in an ELCA church, having X number of years experience with this education should be paid at this level.
And it's a range.
And it is a range. And Pastor Deb, we are paying her low in her range. For our administrative assistant, the council approved what we considered to be a cost of living increase. For the cleaning, the person who does that, Kendra, asks that hers not be increased, that it be stayed the same as part of her gift to the church. Other numbers came from the committees, and the council said, that's what X committee says, that's what numbers go down. So I just thought that was great information.
I can tell you that what happened at the committee level was that the committees looked at their 2019 ask and expenses. They talked about what their mission was for 2019, and they planned for the finances they felt they needed to complete that mission. So that's where the numbers came from.
The other note, as you look down that last column of figures, is I think it's the 65,000 section for account numbers for benevolence. This is a tithing church, and so a portion of our offerings is given.
10%.
Is given, and that where those gifts are given is decided by the council each year. So even to make the numbers work to fill in, the numbers are repeated from where the designees of last year, but that could change. In the past, it's been things like prison ministries or whatever. So even though you see those figures, we just want to point out that the new council could decide on other recipients for this year. And now we would entertain any questions about line items for this mission plan.
Microphone, please. Cleon. Margie has a question.
I think Shell might have been a little first.
No, I was second.
Oh, okay. Margie, please.
Is it assumed that those recipients of the benevolence dollars will always be ELCA don't know.
Based?
Yeah, right. That's my question.
I don't believe there's necessarily that obligation, except to the synod and the conference. Clarification or constitutionally?
Constitutionally, there is nothing in the Constitution other than we will be a tithing congregation, which means 10% of our offerings. South Dakota Synod will always be included in that. My assumption is that they will always be ELCA-based.
Okay, I would want to affirm that, because when you say benevolence, that is our church. If we wouldn't have or support the synod or churchwide, we would not be an ELCA church.
Right. So we list the South Dakota Synod as underneath our Ministry of Benevolence, but that isn't automatic every year, because that is part of our responsibility in supporting the South Dakota Synod.
My question is that the other figures, other places for benevolence should also go to ELCA.
Yes, that is what I heard you say. There is nothing in the Constitution which says that, but it is my understanding that for the most part that has always happened with this congregation. It's been part of their tradition. Shell, I think, had a question.
My question was just that one of the teams for the college outreach had discussed getting a line item added for what we were doing for 2020, and I wasn't sure if that was accounted for under outreach or if that was not in the budget for the 2020.
You are absolutely correct.
I don't see that.
I don't see that line item in there, and I will take responsibility for that. And so I would say,
what amount was proposed, Shell?
We looked at what we needed to raise and then what we had gotten from some other funds, and we had spent roughly $300 the first semester, and we were looking at about the same the second semester. But we were open to anything, and we'll continue to fundraise or do whatever we need to do otherwise, but yeah, that's what we were.
Yep, and we will apply for another Thrivent Community Action Card, which is $250. We can add a line item under outreach for college outreach ministry, if that is what the congregation desires. I would need a motion to approve.
Is that a motion, Shell?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And for $600 to be added to, as a line item under outreach. Do I have that correct?
They wouldn't need the whole $600.
$250 off that, then we would.
Well, we could actually get 2 cards, one for spring and one for fall, so we could potentially take 5. So I would say for the first year, $100 might do it.
Perfect.
Okay, so I have a motion for, to amend the proposed mission plan by adding a line item for, under outreach for the campus ministry of $100.
College outreach ministry. It's
College
different.
outreach ministry, sorry. Is there a second?
Gwen, I second.
Seconded by Gwen.
So to be specific, I am going to say number 66270 will be titled College Outreach Ministry.
I have a question or comment.
For $100 unless somebody else has another suggestion. And somebody, Joy.
Yeah, what I was wondering, hadn't really thought this through, but I'm wondering if that could be, we could work together with the mission committee, and if that could be a mission of the month rather than a budget item, possibly. Because for the mission of the month, this last time we had 2 going on, and I think it would have been, I think if we would have had it for mission of the month, whenever you guys want and so on, that actually more comes in.
That's phenomenal. So are you withdrawing your motion? Okay, the motion has been withdrawn, and we will work with the mission committee.
Person seconding, also withdrawing?
There was no second that I heard.
There was.
Oh, there was a second. Okay, Gwen, Gwen also withdraws. Thank you. I didn't hear your second. I apologize, Gwen. So we take the line item off, and we will instead partner with the Mission Committee. Fabulous.
And don't forget the sign-up sheets are in the back and downstairs for the Mission Committee.
That's right. Because honestly, as of right now, I'm a clean slate. So Judy and Joy, if you want to continue on the Mission Committee, which I hope you do, please write your name down under Mission Committee, okay? So honestly, if you want to continue where you're at, Connie, please write your name down on the Worship Committee. Okay, wait, no, I'm really giving you an opportunity to do something else, but really, would you write your name down on the Mission Committee? And Carla also, because she's automatically now on the Worship Committee, if this passes.
I make a motion nomination cease.
For what?
Mission Committee.
For Mission Committee? No, we're not electing them, we appoint them.
You fooled me.
We appoint them. Thank you for that conversation, for the motion, and the second for the withdrawal, and for the willingness for the Mission Committee to work. Fabulous teamwork. Love this church.
We have another question about the financial mission plan.
Actually, I'd just like to make a comment, or actually request a kind of show of hands from the congregation. I know all of us try to buy local as much as we can, hint, hint. But who bought anything from Amazon for Christmas last year? So like over 50%? Did you go to smile.amazon.com and order? Okay, because if you didn't and you bought anything from Amazon last year, you left dollars out of this budget, because you don't pay anything extra when you buy on Amazon. Notice that, what, it was like $400 last year? $460, something like that? Whatever the number was. That number should easily be double that, at least. And boom, all of a sudden we paid for the college.
What he's referring to is under income 48110, outside rebate programs. In all honesty, most of that number is the utility credits we get, but Amazon Smile. If you purchase from Amazon, make sure that you register with Amazon Smile and choose Our Savior's Lutheran Church, and then we receive a percentage of whatever amount you spend at Amazon. If you have questions about how to do that, talk to Richard.
1 to 6% of your
And so I've been doing that for years.
Our Savior's Lutheran in Hermosa.
In Hermosa. Make sure you get the Hermosa Church. There's a lot of Our Savior Lutherans. The really cool thing is when we put that out on Facebook, we actually had Mickey Twittero's daughter, Kathy, texted us and said she switched her Amazon Smile to Our Savior's Lutheran Hermosa because it was a way to honor her mom-in-law and her late father. So that was pretty cool. And so yes, please, if you're an Amazon purchaser, get us on there. We'll take the money.
Another thing we want to remember is Choice Dollars will be coming up. We have to re-sign. We have to re-sign up for Choice Dollars from Thrivent. If you're a Thrivent member, make your choice of where you want that money to go.
And Our Savior's Lutheran is also on that.
Any questions about any other line items? What's included? Any other discussion? We have a motion to call for the vote.
Doesn't need a second. We call for the vote.
Doesn't need a second. All in favor of approving the financial mission plan as printed, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Thank you all very much.
What?
I asked him if he was sleeping.
Oh, okay. I think you deserve to give yourselves a round of applause. Not only have you continued to support the mission of this congregation financially, but this year you've stepped out in faith. And so thank you. And for those who have not received their letter yet with their statement, just one more comment, and that not only do I look at how generous you are in your offerings, but the fact that almost $10,000 was used, over $10,000 was used in community action cards from our Thrivent members to help support the ministry of this and beyond, because some of that was for the community. and $9,000+ was raised in our Mission of the Month. So you are an incredibly generous congregation, and I say thank you. And the stories are here and beyond of what that money does.
And thank you to those committees that helped us end the year on a positive note by being so thrifty and being good stewards of our tithes and offerings. Announcements. It's my privilege to especially recognize and thank a few people quickly because I have been reminded about the ball game starting. So, thank you very much to Dixie Clark, Paul Reynolds, and Tammy Dennert, who served as our audit committee this year. We thank you so much for sharing your mathematical skills with us. A lot of people do a lot of things. And one of the people that's worked for years and years on IT and making sure we have a PowerPoint that works and a Facebook page and other IT stuff that's probably above most of our heads or many of our heads, and that's Richard. So I really do want to extend a thank you to Richard Stinson for all he has done for us. You go, Joseph. And as we've talked about before, up until this point, our musicians have not been paid, and we heard great remarks from Margie and from Pastor Deb about having musicians in their family, and what a thankless job that has been. So this is the one opportunity to say thank you to Marie, Connie, Carla, and Peg.
Will you take this to your wife?
It's not been the tradition of this congregation to give gifts or big year-end bonuses to our employees. Unfortunately for you, we're continuing that tradition. You're not getting them this year either. If I had to talk about Pastor Deb, I would become the emotional crier that you know me to be, so I'm not going to say anything to her. Josie is a visible employee that we sometimes see either in email or in person, and we really do truly appreciate what you do for us. And then our other less visible...
I'm still going with if Josie leaves, I leave, okay? Just saying. Just saying. So we're giving her chocolate so she stays.
Back in the olden days, we used to take turns cleaning the church. The building was smaller, and it was not a fun job, in my opinion. We don't really think about that anymore, at least I don't, and that's because somebody else is doing it, and that's Kendra. And she's not here today, but please, next time you see her, thank her for keeping our space clean. One time, quite a while ago, I attempted to thank someone that was doing something here and say, we should recognize you. That takes a lot of time and effort. And I was told, if I die and it doesn't get done, then they can know I did it. So for all the people who do all the things week after week and year after year and don't want your name mentioned, just silently do it to help our ministry, I thank you.
Well, I know it's not on the agenda, but I want to thank somebody for doing a very, very good job for the past 2 years as being president of our council. She and Pastor Deb have worked together and have done awesome. So I want to get a hand of thanks to Waylon Leonard.
We're going to use the Lord's Prayer as both our table grace and as the end to this meeting. If you would all rise and join with me in prayer, I declare the meeting adjourned.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you all. Let's go eat. Council